sitting in front of a screen to watch a movie at home, in a cinema, or on a mobile phone device is a point of leisure for many people. But for those behind the scenes, their works are seen as intangible gold. The movie industry rakes in millions of dollars in countries such as the USA, India. On the African continent, countries such as Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya have also recorded success in the movie industry. On this week's edition of News in Depth, we analyze the economic value of the film industry in Zambia. I'm your host, Masauso Mukwayaya. Stay tuned.
Because I've seen people live that and not be able to let it go.
A slice of the behind-the-scenes happenings in film production. Actors take their position and flow through with their lines.
Robert, if you walk out that door, you will not come back.
This is a standard film production set. However, there's much more that goes on in the behind-the-scenes events to ensure a flawless production. Coupled with a lot of preparatory works, every film production comes with its own behind-the-scenes team, in production circles, what is called a crew. And behind the success of every production comes a crew, which is led by a film director. By the time the final product reaches the general public, the viewers, who at times pay huge sums to have exclusive access, it will have undergone various processes of refining. Top of these reasons for these rigorous processes of film production is that the film production is expected to impact social change.
When I was watching Neria, for example, I was so young, but it's such a powerful film that is used in development sense for social advocacy, you see. So film can be used as film for development through job creation, film for social justice, film as a tourist venture, film as a communicating tool.
For others, film helps in cultural preservation.
One, it mirrors real life, which helps us grow and change and develop. Secondly, it documents our history. Because if you're a people without a history, you're nowhere. And right now as Africans, our history is quickly dying and we're not documenting it. Our languages are dying, we're not documenting it.
But generally, this industry agrees that film has a direct bearing on social behavior in society. Since the advent of color television, film production has soared to unimaginable levels, and with the passage of time, this industry has experienced a lot of growth. And with the dynamism and advancements recorded in the technology sector, the film industry has become highly advanced, what with new forms of technology being used to generate exciting content. The product of the film industry is packaged in various forms, among these feature films, television documentaries and series, animations or short films. Like any other industry, film has had its own cycle of ups and downs. Looking through the historic lens, the 17th century had no options for film production initiatives. It was until Italian Athanasius Kircher invented a primitive version of a magic lantern which projected onto a screen images using candlelight did the world witness the birth of film. That Italian's experimental invention and those of others before him was therefore a breakthrough in film in the 1800s. And late in December 1895, the Lumiere brothers developed the first cinema and showed a film called The Arrival of the Train at La Ciotat in Paris, France. This first public demonstration used a projector known as a cinematograph. In the early years of film production, duration was short, ranging between 5 and 8 minutes with no storyline and no sound. This only changed in the early 1900s when sound was introduced, and not long after that, animations were created. In Africa, history of filmmaking is traced to Egypt back in 1896 by the Lumiere brothers.
This is a country just starting to move so fast that they've had to build special exhibition villages, like this one at Livingston, near the Victoria Falls.
For Zambia, the history of local filmmaking starts in the independence era.
The first efforts during the Northern Rhodesian times when the Bantu Film Project was created. That was mostly after the 1938 Kabwe riots, when the mines figured there must be something that they can do. But in that era, film was really seen more as a way to communicate to the public. They did do a few features, because I remember one of the first winning scripts that were chosen was by the late Mr. John Mwanakatwe, because they'd have these, script competitions.
This history advanced to the point of having government-run cinemas.
When we achieved independence, there was an effort by the government then to actually try and promote the film industry. So you had the government created a parastatal that was actually running cinema. So we had Plaza 1, Plaza 2, Plaza 3. Those were government efforts to create a space for film.
Kapwepwe recalls Zambian actors who were privileged to access international filmmaking training from the globally acclaimed Hollywood under government sponsorship.
Government very strategically also sent people like Wesley Kaonga, Edwin Manda, people who were actually sent to Hollywood to go and learn how to act. Yeah, and people who I think in the case of Edwin Manda, for example, he went to the University of Pennsylvania. People were, the university didn't even want to let him go. He was outstanding even while he was there. Wesley Kaonga was in the same class as Wesley Snipes and all those kind of. The government actually invested in that at that level, in trying to get the film industry to grow.
But in later years, starting in the 1970s into the 1980s, as the Zambian economy took a dive, the drive to grow the film industry went down with it. Along the way, what remained were a few local television dramas like Play Seko, which drew public attention as they were produced and broadcast on national television. The local dramas then at least are believed to have been competing favorably with foreign content, affording television viewers a choice of foreign and local film programming. However, 50 years after independence, the Zambian film industry is still taking baby steps.
We've come a long way. But now coming to cinema, we still are not yet there, in terms of feature films that can travel to international film festivals, feature films that can be shown on European channels. Because that's how you actually make your money when you make a film. You don't make, you're supposed to make money from your film at least for 30 years before, you can put it to sleep.
For the National Arts Council, the sector is not growing at the expected rate. The council also says the sector appears disorganized.
I would describe it as an explosion. In an explosion, there's no order. There's a lot of things moving, a lot of pieces moving, and that's how we've seen. In the last few years, I think there's been an explosion of film, but it's very urgent and important that we structure this, we frame this explosion and give it direction.
Costa Mansa heads Diamond TV, and he feels filmmaking and broadcast is only beneficial to a minority market limited to the line of rail.
But when I talk about growth, it is only growth amongst a few, sadly, along the line of rail, in that obviously everything is happening within Lusaka and a bit on the copper belt.
The low levels of film production in Zambia speak volumes about the country's profile in this sector. For filmmaker Henry Joe Sakala, the profile is not so impressive.
Our industry is not able to produce as many productions as we can, to satisfy the market.
In spite of the mixed performance rating, industry players agree that film has made significant achievements.
From 0 to 10, I would say 5, only because there's disunity, we could be higher.
I've seen a rise of young voices. I've seen a rise of filmmakers themselves who've taken ownership. They're not waiting for the government.
I think we've seen that many producers have taken into account the issue of quality, the issue of producing your film, not just to go and show it to your family that you've made a film, but the issue of producing to make money out of your production.
Several challenges have been listed as reasons why the sector is taking long to develop. Laurence Thompson directed Zambia's first soap opera, Kabanana, which hit the local television screens in 1999. He shares the hurdles he faced at the time, and is quick to note that similar challenges still haunt the industry today.
The local corporate world is not really getting involved, and that's where the biggest problem is. I don't know why they're not interested in getting involved. When this is film industry is a viable industry. I mean, if you look at Nigeria, it's contributing. It's quite a big contributor to the national GDP.
David Kombe worked with Laurence Thompson during the production of Kabanana. For him, the biggest challenge remains sponsorship.
When we started Kabanana, one of the biggest challenges we faced was sponsorship. We discovered that the business community in Zambia did not give much importance to sponsoring the arts. And as a result of that, we could not get sponsors for Kabanana. So we had to use our own resources to produce Kabanana.
Limited financing to the film sector irks film producers.
We have the talent, a lot of talented people that are able to do extraordinary things even with little training, and are able to produce quality, but we lack the investment.
But I think we also need a good sound national film policy that's going to somehow, through the policy, give importance to the industry.
But government is certain that the National Film Fund, provided for under the National Film Policy, will offer answers to issues of financing. The private sector is also being requested to aid filmmakers in film production.
The film policy has clearly stipulated for the enhancement of film production through the PPP mode. So people who are engaged in film production can approach the private sector. When the content is appealing and they can still make a lot of money, the private sector is open. So the environment is quite open because the policy has provided a space where the production of film can be done without any difficulties.
David Kombe also feels that the Zambian market is frustrating the industry.
I'm not sure whether it is because of the low disposable incomes that we have, that we do not actually buy stuff. This is why you find like even our musicians, they're struggling in their day-to-day lives because people don't buy their music. Okay, people would rather buy pirated music, which is free or something, you know. So it's the same even in the movies. You find that when there's a movie that comes out, very few people go and watch it. Very, very few people watch it, you know. Unless it's on ZNBC or it's on Zambezi, it's free, then they'll watch it.
This is why Jessie Chisi, one of the few female filmmakers, is calling for the creation of a defined film market.
Film culture is created by an industry, and an industry has a framework, has policies, has got a playground in which different people has to operate.
Despite the evident challenges, several local filmmakers have emerged on the scene with a desire to produce content which appeals to local and foreign audiences. Players have applauded the establishment of Zambezi Magic on the multi-choice platform, which has apparently given a huge market to local productions like Mpali and Zuba.
The only thing that has changed drastically now is that you've got Zambezi Magic, which is commissioning productions, okay? And that has given a lot of opportunities to Zambians. If we remove Zambezi Magic, we are back to square one.
With the assessment that Zambezi Magic has pushed Zambian film much more than ZNBC, the national broadcaster feels that this development is not a manifestation of competition in the film sector, but a demonstration of partnerships in the sector.
MultiChoice collaborates with ZNBC. That is another platform on which people can be able to view this content that is being produced by filmmakers. So to me, there is no conflict of interest. Collaborations and agility, co-opetition are the way to go in terms of the dynamics of the new broadcast ecosystem.
It is a well-known fact that most filmmakers are passion-driven. Owas Reimwape is in this class of filmmakers, although he dabbles as an actor. During my making of this documentary, I found him on set filming a new production where he is a lead actor. He is not happy that people find film to be a by-the-way industry.
Most people feel film is only supposed to be for school dropouts. So there's very little people that can domesticate the issues to do with what it is that we stand for. I think for a long time people didn't know that film can actually add to the GDP of this country.
He wants to see the sector taken seriously. And for this to happen, there is a loud cry for professional training facilities in filmmaking. Charity Marut hosts the Lusaka International Film Festival. She is among those that want to see filmmaking made into a real profession.
The film industry is an industry like any other, and you need professionals.
Others, however, argue that filmmaking does not entirely need professional training for it to be taken serious.
It's one career that doesn't need you to go to university, for example. It's soft skills, that you can learn and make them technical, like learning a camera, for example. You don't need a degree for that. You need interest.
There are certain people who are born talented, and right now, most of the filmmakers you've seen in Zambia are doing great exploits in terms of just knowing the art, and they've never been to film school. Whilst people who have actually come from film school and have degrees and master's degree have not even shot, not even a movie.
But a call for the setting up of a national film school is prominent in the conversations I've had with most filmmakers.
You go to countries like UK, South Africa, and the US, they've got schools which just focus on training artists. And before you start doing your acting, you would have gone through the acting school.
We do a national film school. We need young people to have an avenue of going to a film university or a film college, or those kind of things. If we can have film in school, that would be marvelous. But if we don't have the skills base, then we're never going to have that huge leap.
In response to the call for specialized training, government assures industry players that the request is catered for by the film policy, which was approved in 2016.
The development of film industry in the country calls for major stakeholders. Some of those are education facilities, for example, or the Minister of Education facilities, where the film has advocated for training of film production by pupils, where pupils can watch a film and be able to interpret. In doing so, you are inculcating a spirit of interest by even pupils who want to take up that challenge.
Government is also certain that the training gap will be filled by the Talent Factory, a public-private partnership concept.
We also triangulate the Talent Factory, which is a collaboration between MultiChoice and Zamcom, who are seeing to it that we are heading toward that.
I have visited the MultiChoice Talent Factory, and the director, Barry Lwando, agrees on the need to make filmmaking a professional career.
If we move filmmaking out of the psyche of it being a hobby, somebody just points a camera somewhere, shows it, puts it together, shows it on TV, and then they say, yeah, you saw me, I was on TV and blah, blah, blah. If we move out of that psyche and educate people that this is a business, this is how you make a living. When you go back to the numbers I've just said, and you are churning out production after production, already you are making a growth in the industry.
The Zambian Talent Factory is one of 3 on the African continent, and so far 20 students have been enrolled.
We thought and researched and came up with a plan where we can inject technique into the abilities of telling these African stories. We call it igniting the creative industries of Africa.
Beyond training, there is a call for infrastructure.
We don't have studios in this country. We don't have facilities where people can go and record. ZNBC has got some studios, but those are strictly for ZNBC, for their use, and they are very small, okay? If you're gonna do a movie and programs like that, you need to have dedicated studios that are built to suit certain productions.
The public service broadcaster says it stands ready to fill up the gaps in national efforts to develop the sector.
The policy is a very important framework in that it will give us the guidance in terms of how we engage. It will ensure that it brings on board players that may not be able to participate in the industry due to various areas of limitation.
However, more demands have been placed on the public service broadcaster.
You know, one of the first things we can do is that our national broadcasters, so ZNBC and Zanis, who've got all this brand spanking new equipment, brand spanking new studios, come up with an effective, honest and transparent co-production deal relationship with filmmakers.
We can decide to buy outright from you as a film producer. We can decide to collaborate with you. We can decide to go to the market together. ZNBC can also decide together with you as a film producer to deliver your content not only to the ZNBC platform, but maybe after we've utilized it, we may help you to engage with other markets in the region. So there are many areas of collaboration that the corporation continues to bring on board to ensure that the film production is promoted in Zambia.
Nigeria's Nollywood success inspires Zambia's dreams of growing the film sector. 2016 saw Nigeria hit box office income of over 3.5 billion naira, amounting to $11.5 million, with 30% of ticket sales accruing from local movies. In recent years, Nigeria has recorded earnings totaling $590 million annually, producing 50 movies per week. The Nigerian film industry comes second only to India's Bollywood, which produces more movies than even Hollywood in the United States. In South Africa, the film industry is one of the leading employers. As of June 2017, more than 20,000 people were employed in the film sector, with a contribution of 5.4 billion rands to the country's GDP. These are inspiring stories for film producers in Zambia, who agree that it can help create employment.
In terms of job creation, it has a lot of impact. A lot of millions and thousands of young people actually are employed in the sector.
You know, to produce even just a show like My Kitchen Party, you have probably 30 people working on that set.
This movie we are doing in 2 weeks, we're employing about 200 people.
Zambia's custodians of the film policy, the Ministry of Information, is aware of the economic viability of the film sector, including employment creation opportunities.
For the nation, you know, it contributes to the economic development because it's also a form of job creation and above all, uplifting the standard of the people.
On the other hand, broadcasting players are certain that they will benefit from film in view of the bigger stage provided by digital migration. Government, however, emphasizes that it will offer as much support to the industry as guided by the policy.
The policy is clear, stipulating that the political will is there, and you people out there who want to involve in the film production, government is willing to see to it that the film industry in Zambia develops to an uncontrollable limit.
The biggest recommendation is the call for enhanced private sector support.
The main thing that we do need is financial support, but it's a mutually beneficial thing because by investing in the film industry, the corporate world also advertises their products, their services.
There are also calls to make money out of the country's unique sceneries that are used to shoot foreign film scenes.
We can't have like big American films shoot here for nothing. I mean, they can pay something that can contribute back into the economy, and it goes back into development.
So if you shoot a film of the Muchinga Plateau, for example, Muchinga Escarpment rather, and people like it, a lot of tourists will come and see where this Muchinga Escarpment is.
Minister's House, James and 3/1, take 1.
Projections are that if the recommendations fronted by those in the film sector are implemented, the film sector can make substantial contribution to not only employment creation, but overall economic growth.
It's a wrap. This is where we come to the end of this week's edition of News in Depth, where Pennipher has been looking at the economic value of the film industry in Zambia. Thank you so much for watching. I've been your host, Masauso Mukwayaya. Please enjoy.